Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another season of the World Online Racing. We are here in COTA for the first round of the PC season. This is your PC Tier 5 action. I'm Cockhass, and alongside me tonight is, well, someone making his debut in the league. I have Alex Bagnall. Good evening, Alex. How are you, and are you excited for tonight's action?
Absolutely buzzing for this WR first timer, so we'll see what happens here. I've got a few familiar faces for me in the grid, but around COTA we're expecting some big racing action, especially down the back straight out of turn 11, and obviously sector 1, that's the time where you're going to either get A, penalties, B, you're going to gain time to get in front, or you could be spinning on. So it's all on this track. It's everything you want. S's, hairpins, the lot, so it's room for a treat in round 1.
We absolutely are. It is a great place to start the season off. Obviously, it is. We only started the PC side of things here. This was round 2 on console on Thursday, but this is obviously the PC side of things, and this is the main stage where drivers will look to make their name, and also it's one of the best PC. It's one of the best PC tiers in the world, really. We've got tier 5, about the top 50, well, the top 100 odd drivers battling it out for those top spots. This is tier 5. We have got a couple of tiers below this, so it's not like this is the worst of the bunch. But, yeah, the likes of Justin Chevalier, Dallin McTeer, both tier 4 drivers last year, both quite decent tier 4 drivers finishing within the top 10 of the standings. And, yeah, we should be in for some quality action tonight. We've got the first few drivers coming on their laps. Everyone, apart from Yanni Alexandrov, is on the track. And unless I'm mistaken, I think that we've got our first driver coming up to the line in Mikolas in the Williams. He's coming through the final sector now. And it's looking like an all right lap. We were talking before the broadcast, 1 minute 30... well, you mentioned 1 minute 30.7 as a benchmark. We'll see what they're coming round to as Mikolas comes round the final corner, and he's already matched that prediction. 130.7.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah, that looked like a decent lap actually. I watched him sector 2. There was a few little corrections on the exit, particularly out of turn 12. But yeah, we're going to see that a lot. Just a few mistakes, getting warmed up in WR yet again, but yeah, like you said, a few more laps coming in. We're already in the 30s, and a 30.7 from Mikolas and a 30.9 from Justin Chevalier. I think that's how I pronounce it. I'm not sure. We'll get warmed up with pronunciations. We'll get there over time. We'll just wing it for now. But yeah, just getting those laps in. You need to get a decent banker in. Hopefully, like a low 31 is probably what you want. But who else is on the lap then? Who are you on board with?
At the moment, we've got NSR coming through the final sector. The Aston Martin will be the second Aston Martin set time after Daniel, as Robert Dinilescu comes across the line, 131.3. At the moment, Mikolas looking dominant on top, although Dallin McTeer almost displacing him, 130.8. So just a tenth behind. NSR around the final corner with a 131.4. That will slot him right in the middle of the packs. It was 7th, it's now 8th. As Danko comes across the line. Joris comes into the pits. Poison Loon, I think, is how I'm supposed to pronounce that, is in the he's in the first sector. But yeah, pretty widespread at this point in time.
Yeah, there is. So obviously at the top, we've got the front three pretty close pace. Then dipping into the 31s is just Tim Bayer. But the Alpine's looking very competitive. Both of them sit on the second row of the grid. But yeah, we'll see what happens when they get warmed up a bit, because I've seen a lot of mistakes from a lot of these drivers, mainly in the first sector and the last sector. Obviously, there's not many places you can go in the middle sector. The exit and the traction zone at turn 11 can be quite tricky on the rears, but apart from that, it's pretty smooth sailing. But the Haas of Poison Loon is going to come around the final 2 corners. Bit hesitant on the entry there, but it's just got it through. It heads round the final corner, gets the power down, and we're going to go to the line. And it is a 32.0 then for the Haas, and puts it at the back of everyone who's already set a lap time. So yeah, 32, that's not where you want to be. You need to be improving a lot more than that if you want to have any shot of getting some points today. and starting a good grid slot. But who's next then?
We haven't got anyone on a push lap, I don't think, but Mukwai is coming through the final sector. Yanni Alexandrov has just entered it, but we did have a few drivers, Joris, Alfie, Ayanut, and Christian Lubinov, which is one of the more fun names to say in the WOR space, in the league racing space. He did not set a time, as did the rest of them. They all invalidated, and yeah, we're going to watch onboard with Mukwai. I'll give us both the opportunity to do an onboard lap, but I'll nick the first one, shall I, since I'm already talking. Mukwai coming through the first corner, going up the hill towards Big Red, and then down towards the S's, styled with the idea of the Senna S's in Brazil in mind. Obviously, these are a lot more sweeping than that, but yeah, heading out the first sector, 24.7 for the Kick Sauber. Now, just trying to keep the traction. That corner can get a lot of drivers, whether it's track limits, whether it's getting them spinning around, but Mukwai's headed through it absolutely fine. And then it's also another tight hairpin as he heads onto the back straight, one of the longest back straights on the grid, on the calendar even. And it's almost up there with China, which we've got coming later on. He's doing pretty all right so far, but you got a heavy braking zone at the end of that one before you get to the second sector. Split time 101.213, and yeah, heading through the final sector now. This was actually designed after China, because apparently these look like the snail section in turns 1, 2, and 3. I would disagree with that, but that's apparently what they look like. Mukwai now coming round to the final couple of corners. The penultimate one you don't want to brake on, and then the final one you certainly do. Needing to brake, not just throwing yourself off the circuit. Mukwai, a decent lap, 151.057, 5th place.
Not too bad for the Kick Sauber. Everyone else coming out for the second out laps of qualifying. We've got a few at the back who probably invalidated the first laps or are just coming out now. So yeah, we've got a Ferrari, a Mercedes, an RB, and a Red Bull yet to set a lap at the back of the pack. But 9 minutes 30 on the clock. And we'll get some second laps in a moment. I think we've got the McLaren on a lap of Giovanni Baruzza as he's heading through the S's, the sweeping corners, like you said. And he's 1 second off the pace. He's not going to be improving on this lap. Who else is out there? Anyone else on the lap? I think the Alpine, is he the first one to cross the line? I think he is. So around on board with Justin Chevalier, I think that's how I pronounce it, Chevalier. Justin Chevalier, we'll go with that one as he heads down turn 2 and into turn 3. Left, right, left again as he's heading around turn 6 and past the split 1. We'll see what his time is in sector 1. It's a 10th.5 improvement. It's a big improvement in sector 1. It's fastest of anyone in that first sector. Now uphill and back down we go on the way down to turn 11. He wants his car rotated and smoothly on the power. We'll see how he does it. No rears. Hopefully oversteer. Yeah, absolutely nailed it. Perfect on the power there. Using that battery surely with the DRS as he heads on the back straight past the speed trap and heading down to turn 12. Can be a tricky braking zone. You can tend to lock the rears. He's over the curb, and that's quite a margin, and that's an invalidation. Too much curb that time round. He was 2.5 tenths up, but it's not going to count on this occasion for the Alpine of Justin Chevalier.
Yeah, not what he would have wanted, because that was looking like an absolutely quality lap that could have seen him steal provisional pole off of Mikolas. In the meantime, I'm going to watch on board with the Kick Sauber. We just watched Mukwai. Let's watch on board with James as he heads through the final sector. I don't think he's going to be the first one to set a time, as Ironut goes up into first position, a 1:30.618 for the RB. And, well, yeah, I mean, that is the sort of laps that they should be aiming for at this point in the session. James around the final corner, 1:31.4, not an improvement, which is disappointing because he was improving by 1/10.5 in the first couple of sectors. Redmer, he's improving. Dominic Nielsen is around the penultimate corner now, around the final one. He's currently in 16th place with a 1:31.755, just ahead of his teammate. He will now move up into 8th. As who was that flying up the order? I think that was Chrysu, possibly? As he heads up. It wasn't. Who was it? It was Robert Danilescu, who went up into the 1:30.7s. So, times are tumbling here in COTA. We saw in the console side how much the times tumbled by as we headed through the session. We were starting in the 1:31s. We ended up, well, it was incredibly low 130s. So quite a few of the drivers will be waiting for that sort of period of time. NSR, he's coming around the final couple of corners. He's improved by a couple of tenths. That would slot him... Well, Redman's taken that 10th place that I was about to mention. But if you can hook it up in this final sector, you can gain loads of time because there's different ways of approaching it. And if you approach it in the right way for your strategy, then it should come off. Around the final corner now, NSR, power down, 131.133. He was aiming for that 10th place. He's just about missed out.
Yeah, bit of time in that one, but you've got to push it right to the margins at tracks like Kota. Entries of corners can be a big one. Like I said, Sector 3 is a place where you can lose. I think Alfie is on the lap at the back of the Mercedes, so it's going to be the first lap that counts, as he hasn't invalidated. He's going to head to the final corner now. We'll see what the Mercedes can do as he comes around, gets the power down. Oh, that's a huge lap from the Williams. It's a 30.584 as Alfie puts it in P2. It's a 31.1. There's a lot of drivers around that 31 region, and it's going to get close in the midfield, but that's a huge lap from Nicholas, who puts it at the top of the times with 30.584 with 5 minutes 40 seconds on the clock. It's looking pretty close at the top spots.
It is, because there's only a couple of tenths between Nicholas and Robert Danilescu, which may not seem like much, but that was such a monster lap by Nicholas that he's just put in there to slot into the 130.5s, the first driver to do so this evening. He's 5 tenths up on... Well, he's 5 tenths up on Tim Bayer, Chrisu, Mukwai, those in 7th, 8th and 9th. Isn't it demotivating for the drivers to... or, I'll rephrase that. Is it demotivating for the drivers to see somebody throw in a lap or two like that, and you're maybe the likes of Giovanni Bruzzi or a second down with... Well, you haven't got as much to play with.
It's got to be hard for the drivers, because when you are pushing, it is a track what can reward risk, and when you feel like you're pushing it to the limit, it might be pushing it in a different way, like not quite the right line through Sector 1. So it's quite tricky, but Nicholas at the minute hooked it all up very nicely. But when you're down in probably like the 31.5s, 31.4s, and you're stuck in that region, it's probably difficult to improve, because I mean, you've probably got to prioritise race pace, get your head focused for that, but it is tricky. It is a very tricky track, very mixed corners as you go around, high speed, low speed. But yeah, like I said, very tricky if you just can't hook it up and get it right. As I think there's a McLaren on lap, Dallas McTeer heading round Sector 1. We'll see if he's improving. He's just half a tenth down, so there's still room for improvement on this lap. We'll see if he can do it. Uphill, blind crest. That's a big correction on the exit. Big snap of oversteer. As he is now heading into turn 11 now. I think Josh is also about to finish a lap as well. We'll see what happens when he crosses the line. As I think was it P18 for Joyce there? I think so. As yes, in Sector 2, we'll see what Dallin McTeer can do as he heads down to turn 12, and he's going to get the power down. Now, he's still just a bit argy-bargy on the exits, he's fighting with the car a bit, as he's now down by 2 tenths, so unless he's got a heap of time to get in Sector 3, there's 3 minutes on the clock, I don't think there'll be an improvement, as we'll see probably him coming to the pit lane to try and refuel the car and come out again, because 2 tenths in Sector 3, unless he made a mistake, like I said, it won't be an improvement this time round, as, yeah, coming to the pit lane.
Yeah, it's not an improvement for the 4th place man, the man that actually picked up a podium last season in... Don't know what's just happened to the stream, apologies about that, it's just flashed black for a second. But it's not an improvement for the man who picked up a podium last season in PC Tier 4. I reckon he'll be feeling pretty hard done by, actually, that he has been demoted to Tier 5. Not that it's much of a demotion, because there's constantly new talent coming into the series, and... we're seeing quite a few debutantes quite a few debutantes today, and quite a few names that I'm sure that we'll get used to across the season. That is, I say we. I'm sure I'll be having Alex with me a few times this season, but he is your regular PC Tier 6 commentator. Max Ring, which is a name that should be very well known to viewers of WOR. He is doing Tier 2 tonight, and I'd presume a few more times this season. But I'm here. I'm always here for the viewers, which I'm sure will be regular, consistent viewers. We've got Tim Bayer, an Alpine in the final sector. He's currently 131.0 and improving as he heads with 2 more corners to go around the circuit to the Americas. And around the final corner comes the number 9 Alpine, and he's going to throw a time of a 130.768 into the mix, and that is 3rd place. In the meantime, Joris retired from the session. Mikolas will not be improving. Chrisu will not be improving. So a few drivers have given up on their runs already, but with just over a minute on the clock, yeah, Chrisu retires. With just over a minute on the clock, can you see these times dropping?
Absolutely. I think Ionot he's just got a purple sector 2, but he's still slightly down his time, so it must have been poor through that middle sector. The RB looking a bit different with the game graphics as they have just been updated. It's raining in qualifying. It's raining, so surely no one's improving now. We'll see maybe a few late runners, but there we go then. Track should get a bit slippery, and that should confirm that Mikolas pole position as everyone, diving into the pit lane. But late raining Kota causes the drama as Mikolas is surely grab pole here at Kota. A 1 minute 30.584, and that is not going to get beaten in these damp conditions as, it's coming down quite heavy already.
Yeah, with this may throw caution. It may throw a spanner into the works for a few of these drivers. It may cause some caution as, they're going to push anyway because they've got not long left in the session, 5 seconds in fact, as we're seeing quite a few of the drivers retire from their laps. Alfie almost going for a spin in Sector 1, but can't see anybody, couldn't see anybody improving. Then I saw Giovanni Baruzza improve, then I saw him invalidate, so he's not going to be improving on his time. World of emotions there for the McLaren man who's going to be starting this race unless anything goes dramatically different from 17th place. The only driver now who appears to be maybe near improving is Poisson Lune, who is in the 2nd sector, coming through now to the split time. He's a second down, so surely this is your grid for the for one of the American Grand Prix that we have on the calendar, I believe, as I can pull it up now. We have 2. We'll have a look at the calendar once I am able to get it up. And I haven't even got the calendar on my thing. Anyway, we'll move on. But I can read the calendar out to you. How does that work for you? So the calendar is, we start off the season at the United States Grand Prix here in Kota. Then we head to Marina Bay Street Circuit for the Singapore Grand Prix. Then we have our second American race of the season in Las Vegas. Great Britain follows that. And then 2 very similar tracks, Netherlands and the Dutch Grand Prix and the Hungarian Grand Prix will finish off the 2024 WOR season. Then we're picking it back up again on January the 6th in China before heading to Canada, Austria, and then the January the 27th, the season finale in Sao Paulo. A slightly shorter season than we had last year, or last season even, albeit by only 1 race. But it should be a good one. And just to confirm then, your starting grid for the Grand Prix, we've got Mikolas on pole position, a 130.584, just beating out Ionut by 0.03 of a second. Then Tim Bayer, Robert Dinalescu, Dallin McTeer, Danko, Justin Chevalier, Chrisu, and Mukwaya and Redmer will round out the top 10. Then you've got Christian Lubanoff, NSR, Alfie, Dominic Nielsen, James, Daniel, Giovanni Baruzza, Yanni Alexandrov, Joris, and then Poisson Lune rounding out the grid.
There we have it then. First part of the first round qualifying done. The grid is set, and it was a very interesting one. An unexpected rain shower there, and it's looking a lot brighter for the race. Was the slipstream on actually in qualifying?
It was not.
It was not. So ghosting was on, yeah, if I'm correct.
Yes, I believe it was.
So it will be a restart.
We should be in for a little bit of fun action. It's always the most entertaining part of the stream. Sometimes I cut it out. I'm not going to cut it out today, where the drivers try to take it They try to crash as quickly as they possibly can around Kota. It shouldn't be that easy, because, well, it's not a very tight circuit, but we're going to go to the 5 lights for the let's crash and retire race. We've already had 3 jump starts from the top 3. Whoever that is, Nicholas couldn't decide what he's doing. He's retired now. Heading up the hill, there goes a Haas flying into the wall. There goes an Aston Martin flying. Drive-through penalty in turn 1. Tim Bayer hasn't noticed that we're not racing. The safety car is out. There's a backwards McLaren for you, Dallin McTeer. Daniel's retired. Tim Bayer is just continuing as normal. But NSR, there we go. Tim Bayer's retired. NSR and Dallin McTeer retire now. So I think Dallin McTeer might even win that race. Even the safety car's ghosted. That's a bit of fun.
We love this game. We love this game. Honestly, I can't wait for the next game because the slipstream issue is quite frustrating to restart a lobby every now and again. But anyway, it's room for an interesting one. Qualifying. I mean, it was around the pace I expected, to be honest. A bit quicker, actually, I'd say, in the 30.5s. But yeah, not bad from all drivers. It was very close to in the midfield, so we'll see what happens there for the final points places. But yeah, I have no clue what the podium's going to be like. No expectations coming into this season. No expectations. Not really knowing any of the drivers as well for me. So, we're in for a bit of a treat. Might be a safety car or 2, but yeah, let's see what the racing etiquette is like. We'll see what the pace is like as we'll get the grid reset and hopefully be down for some unbelievable racing action around the Circuit of the Americas. But what are you expecting then? Who are you expecting to stand on that top step?
Well, we've got a lot of quick drivers, as we saw in that session. Nicholas 130.5 is what ended up being the pole position. Not a name that I'm very aware of. Quite a few of these I've had vague inklings about, the likes of Tim Bayer I've commentated on before, the likes of Dallin McTeer, who I mentioned it before. I'm surprised that he's in this tier. Justin Chevalier as well. Chevalier actually qualified in 7th, but I'm sure we'll be seeing him fly up the order during the course of this race. Christian Lubanoff as well is one that I've done a few with. We're at roughly the level roughly the level in league racing in general, where the level of the drivers is enough to warrant them being on an esports team, and I'd say that's pretty good quality. And yeah, I mean, these drivers, they'll have engineers, they'll have the whole shebang. Some of them won't. Some of them will be going into it, but some of them will be going into it raw. But just how important is having that team behind you in fighting forward, maybe gaining those extra couple of tenths?
I mean, I know of quite a few drivers that I have, like, I know someone who's actually racing in tier 3 now. He's called Jensen, and I've known him quite well. He started off, he's only young, I think he's 14 to be honest, but he got really quick over a random period. Went from absolutely nowhere to hero, and he got in this esports team, and yeah, it just kept growing. So they do definitely make a huge difference, especially when you've got a team backing you for your pace. So yeah, I feel like it's a mental thing, and it's also like they give you a lot of information, such as setups to try and help you out. So yeah, it definitely helps you out as, like you said, we see these drivers starting to get into these esports teams as they start to grow. But the pace is definitely very strong for tier 5, as we're on for a very good season. It's got to be said, we're on for a fantastic season, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens throughout the season, see whose pace is consistent week in, week out. But Cota's a track what can get you warmed up. Nice one, 4 types of corners. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the race. But I don't know what's going to expect here. Hopefully, I fancy a bit of wet weather though, because qualifying cooked up a bit of drama at the end there, a few little spinners. So I'd fancy a bit of like a dry to wet race.
It would almost be a bit like drift cars in the first sector if we did get quite a bit of rain, as well, we haven't seen the real life F1 cars tackle actually wet weather in a very long time, but we have seen these cars tackle it, and it's always entertaining when that happens, because they just fly everywhere, it seems, and it does make for quite entertaining racing. But yeah, I mean, these drivers, they should have enough they should have enough in them to be able to tackle these sorts of conditions. We've got, I mentioned it before, the teams, the likes of EVE, ET8, NLR, ZNT. These are ABS. These are some prestigious names. TTM with Robert Dinilescu. And I will try to, actually, before we get into the session, ask some of them, Ionut and Poisson Loon mostly, how to pronounce their names, because I don't want to get that wrong. I've got it wrong before. And Oksu, if you're listening, I'm very sorry about that I ruined your winning moment. But hey, it's par for the course here in WOR, to reference something. So
I'll be getting used to these names as well. To be honest, I've just thought about it. Like, these names, the pressure's off you here, because it's all on me with these names to get it right. I know I've already pronounced what, Chevalier? Is it Chevalier now?
That's what I've been saying. I haven't had any complaints. So
French, it sounds right. When I heard you say that first, I thought, do you know what? That's fine. I'm nicking that. That's got to be right.
And then I'm thinking Mukwire. We've got his engineer in the chat, Ace, who should please, Ace, if you can, correct us if it's wrong. But Mukwire, I think, is how I'm gonna say it. A lot of them.
Mukwire? Yeah.
Who knows? But who knows really? But I mean, I'm slightly hypocritical in that sense, because the amount of times my name gets pronounced wrong is ridiculous. It's Kotkas is what it actually is. I've just received a Discord. I think this may be the answer to my question. It is indeed. Ace would like to join the VC, which I'm going to allow momentarily, so we can just get how to pronounce his name.
Oh, brilliant.
Hello. Welcome to the
It's Mouchoir.
Mouchoir. That's it. Brilliant.
Okay.
No worries. Have fun.
Thank you. What a hero. What a hero.
There we go. There's an answer to our question before we get to the 5 lights. That's the name that I have the most problems with, or I did last season. So there we go. It's all good. And
Mouchoir. Brilliant. I'm chuffed that we know that now. That's going to help me out massively.
Especially if they do anything in this race, because I've lucked out before with the fact that they didn't really do much. I think I commentated on 2 races. Mouchoir.
Mouchoir. Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's a great name to commentate on as well. That's a great name.
You can add your own twang to it. It can be like a mouchoir.
Oh, let me have a look in chat as well. Zachary once said hi. Hi, Zach. Oh, hi, Hepworth, mate. Hope you're well. But Mouchoir, chuffed for that. Is he on pole as well? I'm pretty sure he got pole, didn't he? Who got pole?
Pole was... Hang on,
it was a Williams, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the other one. It was Michaelis. I'm presuming it's Michaelis.
Ah, Michaelis, yeah. Michaelis,
was 9th.
Ah,
so,
okay.
Not too far off. Only about eight places off. But there we go. I'm a big fan of the real names, though. I think it adds.
Yeah, same. I know, especially when like everyone's from different countries, where you can like, you go from pronouncing like someone called Smith second name to Yubnov. Do you know what I mean? It's brilliant. It adds so much. To commentary. It makes it so much easier for us as well when they've got a full name instead of someone called like, I don't know, Gary's 3 legs or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on.
See, I know this one because I clicked on your Twitch before we got on, because I like to do a little bit of stalking, a little bit of investigating. I think I saw that from whenever you last commentated.
Yeah, no, you will have done. Yeah, it's a great name to commentate on every week. I'm not gonna lie, but it don't beat the normal names.
There's a certain point to which it feels like you need to be a little bit more serious with it.
Yeah, definitely. But today we've got a fair amount of the actual names on, so it's alright.
Yeah.
But anyway, is your formation lap on?
It is not. So we will be heading straight to the 5 lights for the Circuit of the Americas race, the American Grand Prix. I think it is. I'm not sure what it is in real life, actually. I think
it is. I think it's the official American one, isn't it? Because it's Circuit of the Americas. I think it is the actual United States Grand Prix.
United. That's
United States.
completely gone out of my head. Okay. That's fine.
That just came out as soon as I said it. As soon as I said it, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Totally forgot, but there we go. United States Grand Prix. Circuit of the Americas. As here we go then for 5 red lights. Round 1, Tier 5 of WOR. It's lights out, and away we go. Nicholas gets a pretty poor start, actually. Really sliding all over the place, but Ironut cannot capitalise into turn 1, the uphill crest. Who's going to go for moves? It's both the RBs fighting for positions over the Williams and going down the inside. As I think it's a bit Kajak behind. I think Joyce has lost a few positions, but still side by side is Justin Chevalier and Dinilescu in the RB fighting for positions in all blue top 5 with Williams, RB and Alpine. But who else is fighting for this one? Nicholas has already got a 6/10 lead. It's not bad for Nicholas so far, as Ironut just behind fighting for this podium. As I think we've got Dallin McTeer at the back there. He's falling back as he's all under pressure from now a kick Sauber going round the outside. That's James round the outside, turn 11, heading down. Oh, a bit of contact between the pair, and that causes McTeer to go a bit off course. NSR on Mouchoir then. Easy move on the straight there, gets past and into P7. But so far then, few moves, but not too many. Everyone's kept a bit more careful. As Justin Chevalier, as I say, that big dive bomb from Dinilescu on Chevalier down the inside. These two still fighting as Dinilescu goes off there. But in the lead this race, we've got Nicholas to Ironut to Tim Bayer in your top 3.
Yeah, and it could have been different. It could have been the other Alpine of Justin Chevalier, because there is lots of fighting going on, and Mouchoir dropping down the order. He tried to go aggressive early on, and it didn't really pay off, as he's picked up the first time penalty of this race. 3 seconds worth for track limit violations, but out of the final corner, a battle for P8. Robert Dinilescu he was caught slightly off guard, and Alfie has been able to move to the inside. It's 3 wide behind them into turn number 1, as that's a huge dive from Christian Lubinov. He hits the side of Krisu, and they both drop a little bit, both ghosting as they fall down the order. Christian Lubinov really dropping down the order now behind Daniel, could even be behind James as they head through the S's now. It's side by side between the Red Bull and the Sauber, only momentarily, as the Sauber just backs out of that move. Going side by side through the S's isn't suggested, but Dominic Nielsen and Dallin McTeer are going to try it anyway. Dallin McTeer just dropping off. And James, in the meantime, getting through on Christian. So he might have damage, or he might be lagging, as he's just lagged behind 2 extra cars there. And James and Yanni Alexandrov are now fighting. That is for P16, but the race lead has switched for the first time. Ironut moves up into it ahead of Nicholas. Little bit of movement down the order, as well as NSR is ahead of Danko, Alfie and Mouchoir, side by side. And through the final sector, the Sauber trying to keep a wheel in, but he's going to be unable to. And Alfie just clinging onto that position for the time being.
So far, then, it's been a bit argy-bargy through Sector 1. We've seen a few side-by-side moves as Yubnov dropping off big time then. Has he got damage? No, he's not. He's just dropping off on pace. He's down 8 positions. It's been a very poor start for Yubnov in the Red Bull. But yeah, with this DRS, I feel we're going to see these switching up positions between the race lead of Yonut and Nicholas. And I think we're going to see it on lap 3 as well. But at the minute, everyone's still keeping in that first DRS train up to P8. Then Giovanni, then Baruza, I think that is. In P9, 1.6 seconds behind. So yeah, not ideal, as the first pack has already broke away. But yeah, here we go again then into Sector 1. Anyone brave enough to make a move through the S's, as definitely risking damage. I think it's McTeer, Nielsen, Daniel, James, all of these very close together, heading on the uphill climb up round turn 8 and turn 9, but no one opting for moves this time around. I think we'll go back to the race lead, as on this back straight, I think we're going to see another move from Nicholas on Yonut. As he gets in that slipstream, he'll get the DRS, and surely he'll get the lead this race back. 6 tenths back, it shouldn't be a problem. We'll see him do it. Heading down to turn 12. Is it going to be a move, or is he going to stay behind? I think he actually is going to stay behind. As behind, we've got Alfie going for a move. Is it Alfie there going for a move? Yeah, in the Mercedes. As Mouchoir also gets through on Danko. Danko going for it back low down the inside. Can he make this stick? Mouchoir going for the old switcheroo. It's fantastic for Mouchoir. Can he jump it one perfectly round the outside? Is it going to be another switch back dive to the inside? It is. Mouchoir, the kick Sauber, trying everything, throwing the kitchen sink at this one, but it's just defense from Danko. He keeps the P7, but yeah, they've lost DRS now to Alfie ahead, and that could be a big error from the pair. Can they help each other get back in that? It's only 2 attempts, but we'll see what happens in Sector 1. But fighting from Mouchoir, nearly had that one. There was some great switchback type moves, and on the straight, DRS from Mouchoir is going to have the inside line. He's going to finally get the position he deserves into P7 then, as in the lead of this race, we've got Yonut, Nicholas and Tim Bayer still obtaining that top 3 place, with Chevalier, NSR, Alfie all in the final places like DRS train then, but Mouchoir and Danko losing the DRS with that extra battle in between the pair. But yeah, what's going to happen now? Lap 4, 24 laps ago. Yonut leads the race.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like the top 4 or so, they haven't looked like they're going to be breached at any point soon, although Alfie, he's looking a little bit more, Alfie's looking a little bit more racy, so NSL could come under pressure. Daniel picks up a penalty, a 3-second time penalty. He is the 4th driver to pick up the 5th penalty, as Christian Lubinov, I believe, has 2. We're going to switch and have a look at the tyres just to see what everybody is on, and the top runners, as Ironut moves up into the lead of the race. Tim Bayer looks to go through as well. It's side by side as they head through into the 3rd sector now. Still side by side, but Ironut just backing out of the move. They're a little bit more manageable, but Tim Bayer looking to the outside now of Nicholas. The race is on for the Alpine, and he's just trying to pull to the outside line, just clinging onto it as they head through the final sector, but just backing out. That will cost him too much time. They've watched what happened to Mouchoir and Danko when they were fighting in the final sector. Chevalier didn't. He's trying to cling on to that 4th place ahead of NSR. We've got our first safety car, though, of the season, as Joris has had issues in Sector 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I think someone must have went from him maybe around turn 16 there. Might have made a bit of contact, but the Ferrari is out of this race. I've already seen some pit stops then. Will it be the hard compound from those? But yeah, big battling so far for the lead. We've seen Tim Bayer gain those positions on that, fighting for the lead of this race. Now we've got the held up Red Bulls in the pit lane, both double stacking. So it's Nielsen who will be stuck behind as Yubnov gets through and back on track. But yeah, what we're going to see these leaders do then, as they're already stuck behind the safety car, but most of them already on the hard compound tyres. So some went for the mediums, as some on the hards, as they must have started on the medium compound then. Can they go to the end? 23 laps seems a bit steep, but I think it's definitely possible if you're on the hard tyre. Mediums, I'm not so sure though. But you never know. Might be worth the try if you're at the back of the grid. So James Yubinov might have been in the right to go for this one if he didn't know safety cars. But so far, big battling for the lead then. Nicholas has kept this one from the start, but yeah, it's been definitely under pressure from Yonut, who took the lead momentarily, to Tim Bayer, who tried to go for a move around turn 15 and 16. We're going to see a lot more moves around there, I reckon, today. As we saw Mouchoir, I've lost it already. Mouchoir. Mouchoir going for it around turn 15, 16. Didn't quite make it stick, but as we saw, if you do have that DRS, you can get it back on the start-finish straight anyway. So, yeah, it's about staying close and putting the driver ahead under pressure, as Nicholas leads the way on lap 5 then. So, yeah, top 10 looking ever so different. We'll just look at the position changes as well, just to see who is the real benefit of the first stints, as Nicholas obviously started P1 in P1. Tim Bayer up 1 position to Yonut, who's lost 1 to Tim Bayer. Then the I can't even. What's wrong with me today? The Alpine of Chevalier. Say it. Honestly, God. Chevalier. There we go. That's the one. Up 3 positions. Chevalier up 3 positions. I just need to say it a few times. I'll get used to it then. NSR up 7 positions. Good start from himself. From P12 on the grid. Then Alfie up 7 positions also. So yeah, both benefiting from a bit of Vaji in Sector 1 on the first lap then, as NSR comes into the pit lane. He's got a 10-second time penalty, ignoring yellow flags. That's not ideal. Can they be taken off? I'm not sure if that was his fault for getting that.
Well, I think it is. I think it's because he came into the pits, and the issue with that is he's now going to serve it, which is going to really screw Daniel over as he sits behind. So
straight away served it.
Unfortunately, he does have to serve it, and he can't get taken off your time if you serve it, which obviously it's a little bit too little, too late. Dominic Nielsen had the same fate, as did Robert Dinilescu, who came into the pits. He's got, though, a bigger one. He's picked up a drive-through penalty, because I think this is, it's his second time coming into the pits, and he's switched onto the soft compound of tyre.
Interesting strategy option. Not sure if it's the right one, but you know, we'll see. There might be another safety car right after this one. But at the minute we've got clear skies. It's actually getting a bit overcast, as I say that. It was dead clear at the start of this race. Now it's getting a bit cloudy on lap 6, so you never know. Could be a bit wet at the end of the race, come lap 20. But we'll have to keep an eye on that, because I've just realised that now the clouds are coming in a bit more. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, error from NSR then to go 10-second. But was it his fault though coming to the pit lane? It was overtaking cars, but I don't think it was his fault. Oh, who's that spun round? Chrisu in the Williams got damaged then. Went into the wall, exit of turn 11 under safety car. Must have put the power down a bit too eagerly. As he's now down into P18 with no front wing, so he's going to have to come in again on lap 6. But when's the safety car going to come in? Is it going to be this lap or is it going to be next lap? What are you predicting for the restart then? Who's going to come out on top?
I reckon. Well, Nicholas he's just been so good so far this race. He's soaked up all the pressure from Tim Bayer and Ironat as the safety car is going to come in on this lap, and the Williams, the ET8 driver, will lead us away. We've seen a mixture of safety car strategies so far in WOR. We haven't seen any safety car restarts in PC Tier 5 this year, or this season at least, season 19. Nicholas will be the first one to lead us away. We've seen some wait all the way up until the line. We've seen some power it down at the final corner. And we wait and we wait to see what the Williams is going to do. He's not looking like he's going to try to make a move anytime soon. But that is completely wrong, as he sends it out of the final corner, possibly sends it a little bit too much, but we're under green flag racing once again. He wobbled out of the final corner. He could come under pressure from Tim Bayer, but unfortunately he's not going to do that. And coming through turn number 1 now, the drivers are all slotting in as they were. That is, apart from Giovanni Bruzza, who looks to make a move. Redmer, he's dropping down behind the other McLaren of Dallin McTeer. So the two McLarens working together to get into the final points positions. And now they look together to get into the range of the Hasses. They're already 9/10 behind. But I'm sure that can be broken down quite easily, as indeed it has. Giovanni Bruzza right behind now. Poisson Lune, who he was the last qualifier on the grid, and Giovanni Bruzza looks to take advantage of the pace disadvantage, and they both slot through. Perfect teamwork from the two McLarens, and they are now up into P8 and P9. They can now set their sights on making a move for that kick Sauber. But in the lead of the race in the meantime, Nicholas is coming under pressure from Tim Bayer, and Tim Bayer prevails. He is into the lead of this Grand Prix, the Alpine, taking the lead for the first real time. We did see him try to fight with Nicholas a couple of laps ago, just before the safety car came out. But he's managed to make that move stick. Giovanni Bruzza, in the meantime, right back up to the back of Mukwaya, and DRS will be activated on this next lap.
Huge lap for the Alpines then. Tim Bayer finally gets lead the race. He's actually gapped in Sector 3 by 5 tenths, so it's quite a comfortable margin as the DRS gets back enabled. But I'm sure this is ever to change. What's Tim Bayer's pace like in this clean air? Can he run away with it in the crucial sectors, in the crucial corners, as the McLaren's working well again? They've already caught up to the back of Mouchoir and Verusa down the inside at turn 1, over the hills. Oh, Mouchoir going round, bit squirrely, kept it in the right direction, but he's dropping positions already down to P10, fighting Redmer in P10 as he might be getting through in the Mercedes. He's kind of defend this one. He has done. So Mouchoir keeps P10, but the McLaren's getting through once more. Was there any contact on the blind uphill left-hander at turn 1? I think there might have been, but you never know. Well, as they chase the other Haas of Danko, but it's P7 and P8 so far for the McLarens, both from gaining positions after this safety car, as Barusa up 10 positions so far in this race. He's having a decent race so far. But back into the lead this race then. Tim Bayer, 7 tenths clear already, but the DRS is being enabled, as we see Nicholas catching up so closely behind, as he won't be making a move though from that far behind, I'll tell you that for free. But yeah, Tim Bayer is going to keep leading this race, heading on to lap 9, as it's been a nice executed move, as beautiful from Tim Bayer so far. After the safety car, he looked like he was putting the pressure on before safety car, but here we go then. He's in more moves from the McLarens. Barusa going on the outside, so is Dallin McTeer. Both of them flying through again. Teamwork makes the dream work. Through goes Barusa, through goes McTeer, as both of the McLarens into P6 and P7, both dispatched. the Haas cars in their home Grand Prix. But Tim Beyer in the lead, Miklas in P2, Jonut in P3, and Tim Beyer has got the race pace, 8 tenths clear. He's looking good in the first and final sectors. But heading on to lap 9, is this all going to change?
Yeah, the DRS will be crucial for the Williams in staying in the range of Tim Beyer, because he just does seem to have the edge. The Alpine just really seems to have the edge, and it's all about Miklas now just staying within range. Because if he can stick there, he'll just be able to gain that mini advantage that Tim Beyer won't have, because Beyer, surely, he's pushing on those hards. So towards the end of this stint, this is where Miklas and Ironut could come back into it. Justin Chevalier as well. He's dropping off a little bit, and I'm sure he's going to come under pressure in the next couple of laps by the Mercedes and both the rampant McLarens as they come now onto the back straight. Dallin McTeer, actually, he's got full ERS. They're just looking in such a good position at the moment. This is perfect teamwork. But in the meantime, Miklas loses another position. Ironut moves through on the Williams, almost getting into the lead of the race. Now he is getting into the lead of the race, getting past Tim Beyer, and the RB takes the lead of the race. Tim Beyer looking to fight back, but he hasn't got anything. The RB just taking the advantage. That DRS that I mentioned, it means that he'll be able to stay in as Alfie goes round. Not sure if there was contact or not, but he's dropped down to P9. And the Mercedes drops down. The McLarens force themselves into this fight for this lead. And, well, it'll be interesting to see the teamwork coming into play when you've got two more teammates up in this fight. Beyer and Chevalier. We'll see two teammates clash. We'll see Miklas and Ironut as well fighting away. As Alfie, he's come into the pit. Surely there was damage. Maybe there was contact. Maybe there was not. We'll have to wait and see. But Mouchoir and Daniel into the first corner. They're side by side. And the Aston Martin hits Yanni Alexandrov. He drops down the order. 3-second time penalty and trying to get going again. But there's a few hairy moments. Some of these drivers who aren't as sharp as they would be mid-season. It's those first race blues, as we would describe it. Dallin McTeer, in the meantime, he made it past Justin Chevalier. He's up into P4. And we've got a race on for this victory.
Absolutely, we have one McLaren through his bruiser, gonna follow him through as well, as we've already got all sorts of carnage. Like you said, not as sharp as the season, as we're going to see some Musa lead surely only 3 tenths behind. Is Jonut going to lose this position? And down the inside, Tim Beyer late on the braking. Is he just protecting himself from Miklas? He is on this lap and stays behind Jonut in the race lead. But so far, so good for the RB. Got past them both, and he's keeping this race lead. He's very good in sector 3, but I think it is a bit harder in the dirty area behind. As we see him gap by probably up to 6 tenths heading onto the start-finish straight once more. But this gap then between P1 and P7 is very close. All of them in DRS, all of them within 5 tenths of each other. As, yeah, it's just Giovanni in the other McLaren that's kind of struggling to keep up to the back of Chevalier. But he's still in there. Obviously with DRS, it helps them close up together, especially when one's stuck behind the other. But yeah, at the minute then, RB leads the way as there we go. Tim Beyer already fighting through up to turn 1. Who else is going for it? I think Miklas down the inside as well at turn 1. It's beautiful from Miklas. Judges it perfectly. I'll tell you what, the other McLaren, the feisty McLaren, ravenous McLaren, Dallin McTeer also trying to go for this move in sector 1, but he's just stuck behind on the exit of turn 1, and that just cost him heading downhill and into the main S's. But yeah, at the minute, Tim Beyer leads the way. He got that lead back, and Jonut down to P3 after a big move from Miklas back where we started under the safety car again after Tim Beyer's move. But look at that, Dallin McTeer. He's going to go for a move down the inside into turn 11. Of course he is. Look at him in that McLaren. All the confidence on the brakes. He's making moves all over the place. On the exit, though, who's got the better exits? Jonut's got the slipstream. He'll have the DRS, but so will Dallin McTeer, as he's going to have that inside line. Is he going to go for a move on follow race lead as well? He's not. He's just too far behind. But I tell you what, Miklas does, and he's back into the race here. I tell you what, Dallin McTeer down the inside he goes again, and he's right behind Miklas. Follow race leaders. Tim Beyer has to back out this one, or has he? Down the inside he goes once more. Dallin McTeer has got the better traction on the exit, and Tim Beyer I don't think can fight one, but he can. Down the inside tries a move like Fernando Alonso did in real life, but yeah, can't make this one stick. Dallin McTeer takes P2 from absolutely nowhere on the grid at the start in the first stint. But at the minute, on lap 11, this McLaren is working absolutely stunningly well.
And it's something you don't see much in league racing. You don't see the teamwork as much as you could. But yeah, Dallin McTeer and Giovanni Baruzzo, they just got lucky that they were together. They both came into the pit, so surely there's some sort of communication between the two, and as they head up the hill, McTeer is not going to make a move for the lead of the race. Giovanni Baruzza, in the meantime, he's stuck down in P6, so he's not been able to make that same progress that the other McLaren has made. There is an argument to say that the teamwork has stopped now. Dallin is he's looking out for himself in a sense, but I'm sure that Baruzza, he will fight his way up in the next few laps. Those mediums are still relatively fresh because they're in fact 7 laps old, so they're still within an operating window where they're going to be all right. They're not going to be wonderful, but they're still going to be all right, and they're going to be about on the same performance level as those hards. And the fact that he's been able to conserve just because of the fact that he's been working together with his teammate who takes the lead of the race, by the way, Dallin McTeer, moving up into it. There's a fight for second place. There's a 3-wide moment, and Tim Beyer takes the opportunity to get through on Nicholas Ironut, looking for that move down the inside, not able to do it, and now he's coming under pressure from Justin Chevalier for that 4th position. Contact between the two. Ironut goes a little bit for a half spin, and Chevalier just clinging onto that outside line. A wobble again, this time from the Alpine, but it looks as though he's got enough to hold on to that 4th place. Ironut, yep, he's going to have to tuck in, and it's 4th place for Justin Chevalier. Baruzza just waiting in the wings, waiting to make that move. His teammate, he's now in the lead of the race. Dallin McTeer almost pulled out a gap worthy of DRS on Tim Beyer. We'll see what he can do through Sector 1. But at the moment, it's looking so good for Dallin McTeer. Tim Beyer just... The gap has come in because of that DRS that he had down the main straight. But it's still up to 7/10. If Dallin McTeer can pull 3/10 on Tim Beyer in this sector, it will change the course of this race.
And he did it. It was an excellently executed final sector. He got his head down. It was perfect. His line through sector 3, it was absolutely stunning. But Tim Beyer through sector 1 has closed in just enough. 6/10 behind. He's going to easily have the DRS and close up to the back and might be able to have a standing chance of making a move. We've got a retirement in the pit lane from Robert Dinilescu, and that's our 3rd retirement from the race. That leaves 17 drivers in this one for the points today. But Dallin McTeer leads the Grand Prix. 5/10 to Tim Beyer. Is he going to go for a move? He's not going to be close enough heading to turn 12, surely, unless he goes for an absolute brutal dive bomb. But no, stays behind the McLaren. But Dallin McTeer, perfectly executed so far this race. Beautiful from both McLarens to fight through together. But he got on with himself, did Dallin McTeer, but got his head down, as I think Tim Beyer is actually struggling throughout this section as well with the rear tyres, and Nicholas is putting the pressure on 3/10 behind. But it's still lap 13. We've got a long way to go. All can change. As I tell you what, the weather is getting even darker out there. So, have we got a shot of rain? That will twist this race upside down. But we'll have to wait and see, as NSR gets a 3-second time penalty, and that might just cost him a point in this race, you know.
Yeah, we could be seeing, as there's actually quite a few penalties flying in. Them come into effect towards the end of the race. Danko 3 seconds, NSR 3 seconds, Daniel 3 seconds, and James 3 seconds. They are currently in the points, and it currently means that Poisson Loon in the Haas will jump up ahead of James, ahead of Daniel as well. I don't think he's ahead of NSR quite yet, but I think he's nearly there. And, well, if he closes in by any more, or if there's any more penalties that are picked up by these 3, then points are pretty much guaranteed for the Haas if he stays penalty free himself. But heading through now, we're on the halfway mark of this race. We've got Dallin McTeer controlling the pace with Tim Beyer just waiting in the wings. Nicholas, Justin Chevalier, Ironut, Giovanni Baruzza. They're all in DRS range. They're all drivers you'd expect to be in DRS range with the performance that they've had so far, as Ironut looks to the inside of Justin Chevalier. Chevalier tries to cut him off. Ironut does not allow it. And there's more contact between the two as they head now. Chevalier sending it to the inside of Ironut. It's not particularly clean, but can one of them get this move done? Chevalier to the inside. Ironut trying still to fight this. He's pulling on Chevalier's wheel. This is not quite what you want to see with some clean racing for P4. But Ironut sending it into the penultimate corner. Chevalier has to yield, has to go off the circuit, and now he's coming under pressure from Baruzza. No, he's not, because Baruzza's coming into the pits. Ironut and Chevalier. Well, Chevalier's not had the greatest exit out of the final corner, and he could come under pressure from Danko on this lap. Not looking like he's going to, but Ironut that was something special in terms of racing. I'm not saying whether that's a positive or a negative, but you can probably pick up from watching it yourself what that was. And now there's DRS being broken between Nicholas and Ironut, between Ironut and Chevalier, just about. That's just changed the battle for this lead. That's just tightened it up as McTeer, Bayer and Nicholas have been left to fight it out between each other.
13 laps to go then. Do you know what? I think Barutza might have just picked the best time to pit. All these guys ahead was squabbling absolutely recklessly in the final sector. It lost them out of DRS, and maybe a bit of an undercut strategy for Barutza might get him back in this battle for the podium positions, but we'll see how that turns out from him when everybody else comes in the pit lane. But for the lead then, Dallin McTeer still leads the race to Tim Bayer behind. It's in the DRS, all of them closing up, but none close enough to make that move. Behind then, I think it's just the midfield pack who's trying to make moves at the minute. All of them still very close, as it's Mouchoir under pressure from Dominic Nielsen and Poison Loon. But yeah, so far on this lap, no moves as such through this mid pack, but it's closing up for the final points places. Like you said earlier, the penalties definitely going to come into account. It's a tricky track not to get track limit penalties on as well, like to Sector 1 and what's another big? I think turn 19, the exit there can be very full on the track limits. If you go slightly wide on the exit, who's going from reverse? Ironut just comes into the pit lane. And we'll see if Barutza has done the undercut on the RB as he comes around the final corner in a moment on the medium compound of tyres, as Ironut goes onto the mediums as well. So yeah, that'll be to the end of the Grand Prix. 12 laps remain. But when's the front runners going to call it? When's Dallin McTeer, Tim Bayer and Nicholas going to call this one? I'm not sure. They've still got a pit, and yeah, this might just change the fight for the leaders. Barutza is now up to P14 then, as Ironut actually comes out quite far ahead.
Yeah, the undercut didn't really work for the McLaren. Maybe he had to change his front wing. I'm not 100% sure, but I know for sure that we didn't actually see his pit stop. But it would make sense because he would have been about 2 seconds ahead of Ironut. So maybe he did have front wing damage. Who's to say? But what we can say is that he is in P14 now. He's 5 seconds behind Ironut. Justin Chevalier makes it past Danko with the DRS, but the gap between third and fourth has exponentially increased over the last lap. It's now 3 seconds, which will be a great sight to see for Tim Bayer in his fight for the podium. He's picked up 3 seconds worth of penalties, has the Alpine, so it's not ideal for him. And yeah, when do they call it? When do they come into the pits? I think McTeer, he's got a little bit of, well, he comes into the pits now. He's got a little bit of a different strategy. He's going to struggle, I think, a little bit more. They all come into the pits. All of the front runners are going to come into the pits. I was going to say he's going to struggle a bit more with the strategy. He's not, because they've all gone for the same strategy. Onto the medium compounded tyre is Dallin McTeer. Tim Bayer goes for the same, so does Nicholas. So they're going to go to the end of the race. 11 laps on those mediums. That appears to be around the working period for them. McTeer did 11 on those previous tyres when the safety car came out. That is what he switched on to, and he's going to come out just ahead of Ironut, but Ironut switching to the inside, which is the outside of turn number 1, not making that move. I don't know why the RB is black. I think it looks sleeker, to be honest. But
it's interesting. The new update's kind of destroyed a few of these cars. As when you ride on board with the RB, it looks a bit interesting. As you can see the bright red, then you can't really see any other parts of the livery unless it is red. As the McLaren's a bit similar, you can just see orange and the rest of it's pitch black. So yeah, and the Mercedes is awful. The Mercedes is absolutely horrendous. As I've just ridden on board with it, it's grey. But Justin Chevalier getting overtaken by Danko, as Danko might just lead a lap here in Kota. But who's pitted in this race then? Who's still yet to pit? It's just the front two who are yet to pit. NSR has pitted in this race and can actually go to the end. Let me just double check the tyre compound. Medium to hard for NSR, and with 11 laps to go now, can he win this race? Interesting then, because a lot of these drivers have pitted without us realising. Obviously the first safety car threw a curveball into the mix. But can their tyres go to the end? Chevalier comes into the pit lane, so does Danko, and we'll see where they come out in all this drama. But has the fight for the lead changed? Dallin McTeer obviously box from the lead the race onto the fresh medium tyres. They're going to be chasing the cars ahead as a move behind then. Who's That's behind Dalla McTeer. It's the Mercedes of Alfie and Ironut behind heading into turn 1 as Ironut gets to place. But Mouchoir sets a 34.1 on the fresh tyres. As, yeah, decent lap, decent fast lap. See if he can get that extra point if he finishes in the points. As Barutza making a move on Mouchoir in sector 1. Mouchoir fighting for this one around the outside this time into the S's, but yeah, has to concede. Barutza gets the place in that McLaren. As yeah, around the outside, lovely stuff, lovely defending. As he might just fight for this one, Mouchoir, but yeah, has to stay behind. As for lead this race, and NSR is leading this race on track, and it's actually an Aston Martin 1-2. As Daniel gets past James, so yeah, the Aston Martin makes his way through on the kick Sauber, and for the first time in this race, seen NSR lead with the Aston Martin in P2. And Nielsen, the only one without a penalty in that top 4, but is 2.8 seconds behind in that Red Bull. But everyone has now stopped in this race, and now it's a full-on fight to the line. Who can get there first?
Sorry to interrupt you. Tim Bayer and Mikolas have just come together in the final sector. The second safety car is out, and 2 of the front runners. So normally I hate interrupting people, but that was something.
Wow.
They came together in the final sector, and Tim Bayer and Mikolas, both that were fighting so hard for track position. Both are fighting so hard to gain up the order. And suddenly, this race has changed on its head. 2 of the lead drivers retiring. The lead drivers on track able to come into the pits. This changes everything. McTeer and Ironut, they came in a couple of laps ago. They're going to continue to lead, but whether those medium tyres will last as long as NSR's, as Chevalier's, as Danco's, as James's, we'll have to wait and see. But lap 19 of this race, and it's just been thrown all up in the air.
Wow, I've just seen the replay of that crash on the stream. Jeez Louise, flying through turn 15, as that's a huge crash. And that might just affect what happens in this final stint, because Dalla McTeer has now got track position. Those mediums very fresh, as he only just pitted. He's actually on a 2-stop. We didn't see him pit under that first safety car, but he did, and that's how he got his way through with his teammate Barutza, who sits in P11, who did stop on the safety car then. So who can win this one? NSR is out in P3 on the fresh medium tyres, but he has got that penalty that might cost him at the line. But 10 laps, just under 10 laps now to go. McTeer back in the lead after a fantastic middle stint, which promoted him into the lead before he pitted. But at this stage, anyone could win this race. Any sort of penalties could really affect, as Chevalier in P4 has owned the remaining Alpine left in this Grand Prix with his teammate Tim Bayer, who was looking very strong in this race. And so was Mikolas, who started on pole position, both out of this race. It's been a dramatic start to WOR Tier 5. But we've still got 9 laps of racing to go, and all sorts of drama can happen here. Dalla McTeer leads the race. It's the RB in P2, and it's NSR in the Aston Martin in P3 and Chevalier P4, and Danco rounds out the top 5. So who's going to fight for the win? Who can get it on track? We've got 9 laps to decide that.
And spare a thought for a second for Giovanni Barutza. He was so instrumental in getting Dalla McTeer up to the top. He should have been there as well, but unfortunately he finds himself in P11. He was 6 seconds off of the leading 10 after he came into the pits. So very, very unfortunate for him. Alfie, the only driver actually not to have pitted in the last 3 laps. He finds himself in, well, 7th place. Now, he comes into the pits. Drive-through penalty, which could outline a new issue in this game that probably needs fixing. The fact that you get a drive-through penalty whenever you come into the pits. And there we go. He's decided that that drive-through penalty just pushes him over the edge, and that is going to be your 6th retirement of the race. We had Joris early on. Chrisu and Robert Dinilescu both retiring earlier on. Then it was the crash between Tim Bayer and Mikolas that could go on to define this race. Then Alfie came into the pits, but Dalla McTeer and Ironut, they were at the top before all of the chaos. NSR, he wasn't, but he's benefited from a very lucky strategy, let's say, but he was going to come in on that lap regardless. So it was a very, very good. It's paid off. You need to get luck sometimes in this game. You need to get luck, and today it's gone the way of the Aston Martin. Don't forget though that he has a 3-second time penalty. Danco and James, they've both got 3 seconds. Daniel and Yanni Alexandrov has 6 seconds worth of penalties, while Mukwaya has 9, Christian Lubinov has 12, and Redmer has 6. Those 3 are out of the points, but at the moment, as it stands, staying penalty free is crucial. Poisson Lune, he's out of the points, but he's projected maybe to get back into the points if he has enough pace in him to get back up get himself back into the mix ahead of Mouchoir. Mouchoir. I don't know how many times I've said that wrong in the last few minutes because I've only just.
I've been realising my pronunciation through the whole thing. Honestly, when the drama happens, I can't help it. Like I don't even have time to think about the pronunciation. The safety car is in this lap. But yeah, look how great it is. I'm sorry, I'm like a weatherman. I can't even take my eye off the clouds for a minute. But it started absolutely sky blue. With 8 laps to go. I want a spot of rain in the last lap just to turn it into an ice rink.
Just to throw another spanner into the works.
Exactly. There's never enough spanners in the works. That's my quote of the day. But yeah, safety car restart it will be, and Dallin McTeer leads the way. But yeah, like you said earlier on, Brutzer, he's got to hold a bit of credit in this one because they did work well together. It's a shame for Brutzer that he lost so much time with that undercut. I think he must have had to change his wing because you don't lose 5 seconds on undercut unless he made a big, massive error on his outlap. But yeah, here we go then. Dallin McTeer is set to lead out, surely this final stint in this race. Is there going to be any more safety cars? Is there going to be any more curveballs in the mix? Dallin McTeer goes, and it's foot flat to the floor as we head up the hill to the blind left-hander that is 2-1. We've got a car behind. It's the move for P4. Then going down the inside, it's Danko for the final podium place. He gets the traction on the exit. He's now got the outside line into the first part of sector 1. But there we go then. It's the Justin Chevalier who gets the final podium place. Now the Haas of Danko under pressure from NSR, who has to keep way and keep Danko ahead. Otherwise, that could have been a serious collision. Heading round the final stages of Sector 1 there. But behind Barutza, under pressure from Christian Lubnov, as yet behind, he's still having to seize position, heading into turn 11, but he's getting ever so close for the race lead as 6/10 is Iron up behind. Dallin McTeer's got this one under control so far, but the top 3 all penalty free, and that could be very useful heading on to the final lap of this race. But Dallin McTeer leads the way on lap 21 out of 28 as NSR and Danko go side by side once more. It's NSR outside, it's Danko inside. The Haas got the inside line. It's now going to be the outside line for a long right-hander. Is he going to go for a switchback break a bit earlier and go for the better exit? But I tell you what, the other Aston Martin of Daniel getting in on the action of the Haas as well, but just he has to keep way as he's going for a bit of a switch back on the exit. It's a beautiful executed move from Daniel. He's now got the outside line heading into turn 19. Can he keep this one stick? He's gone round the outside. It's off track, and that's a penalty for James there. It's another penalty handed out for track limits there. But yeah, there we go. DRS now enabled again. Danko and Daniel side by side heading up to turn 1. These 2 drivers keep going side by side for the next 2 seconds. Oh, it's a big slide from the Haas. There we go. Daniel says thank you very much, flies through, and it's an Aston Martin 4-5. Big error from Danko there, and that could cost him a fight for this top 5 positions. But for lead the race then, Dallin McTeer leads, Ironut in P2 and Justin Chevalier in P3.
Yeah, and they're not looking like they're going to get breached anytime soon, with the rest of the field down to Giovanni Bruzza in 10th with penalties. So yeah, it's not looking, unless the McLaren can pull something incredible off, or unless somebody builds up a huge gap. It's not looking like they're under any threat. However, I would have thought that about Tim Bear and Nicholas fighting for the lead of the race. And look what happened to that. So keep your eyes on the race as Chevalier closes in on Ironut. Not quite enough. Ironut looking further forward than behind, and there's a huge send on Dallin McTeer. It's not the first time he's attempted it, but it's going to be the first time that he's been successful down the inside into that corner. Dallin McTeer and Justin Chevalier now side by side as the McLaren just falling off, getting caught off guard by the late move from the RB, and that's 3 seconds for the McLaren. He exceeded track limits one too many times in his aggressive fight with Chevalier, and he drops to P3, and it mentally, he will have a massive drop in any confidence that he's got there, because now Ironut and Justin Chevalier, they've got 3 seconds on him, and they should be the battle for the lead. I just said a couple of moments ago that they look set for those top 3 positions. I'm not sure about that. I'm also not sure whether Ironut's going to like this move from Chevalier. We watched them go hammer and tongs earlier on in this race. We said we didn't like enough spanners. We've got a few more pieces in our toolbox. And Chevalier, he's thrown one of our spanners into the works. And he's made a move on Ironut. Yellow flag's out now. Mouchoir has fallen to the bottom of the grid. And he's not going to look... It's not looking like he's going to fight his way back into it anytime soon. 1.6 seconds down. Make that 3 seconds more on Redmer as he's got 9 worth of penalties. We'll watch Ironut and Chevalier as they've got... Well, as Ironut has DRS down the straight. Dallin McTeer does as well. Ironut swings out to the inside line. Dallin McTeer to the outside. He's been sandwiched. Has Chevalier. And Ironut retakes the lead. Dallin McTeer going into the back of Ironut, which has broken his momentum. Chevalier could get into it, but he does not. He doesn't. He's unable to fight forward, and he's just going to have to wait for another day to make that move. Another lap, though, is more realistic, as we're on lap 23 now of this race. Not many to go now. The clock is ticking down, and Ironut, he's in control.
He is indeed. Dallin McTeer then. Can he get the penalty removed, though? Will the stewards look into that? Because he did get pushed off by, I think it was Justin Chevalier in the final sector, or I think it was just heading round turn 12, where I think Ironut might have went for a move, but Dallin McTeer, he's going to stay behind heading into turn 1, might just want the DRS on the back straight instead, as Mouchoir out of this race retired after getting... after being involved in an incident, I think it was in sector 1. But yeah, he's probably going to be sitting quite happy in the McLaren because there's a lot of cars ahead of him with 6 seconds of time penalty, and it could easily be promoted into better points for the race. But yeah, still 4 laps to decide who finishes on this podium. Dallin McTeer, interesting fighting. Can he get the penalty removed if he proves that I don't have enough warnings? But yeah, crucially, he don't want to be getting any more warnings, as Ironut sitting happily on no penalties in the lead of the race, as Justin Chevalier behind as well is going to want to gobble up that position and try and fight Ironut for the lead this race as well. But Christian Ubanov, another driver in the penalty books. But here we go, Dallin McTeer with the inside line is going to wait until turn 12, get on the brakes, close the DRS, and he's going to take the lead this race once more. What's going to happen with the penalties? I don't know. Look how many has been handed out from the steward's room. But the McLaren back in the lead this race after a masterclass drive from Dallin McTeer. Is the penalty just going to unwind that, though? As, yeah, 4 laps to go, 3 seconds. It's definitely going to cost him the race win.
Yeah, although we did see that fighting from Ironut and Justin Chevalier, it could come back to bite them. That fighting that we saw before that safety car, it could come back to bite them. I think certainly Ironut will be looking a little bit at the stewards' report at the end of this race. So it could be decided in the stewards' room. We're going to report, though, on the on-track action. And the on-track action will state that Dallin McTeer is currently in the lead of this race, but 3 seconds worth of penalties drops him down. NSR, he's also got 3 seconds worth of penalties. He's not letting that stop him as he moves momentarily to the inside line as Chevalier into turn 1. Not making that move into Big Red, and he stays in P4. Daniel now waiting in P5. The 2 Aston Martins, they're able to work together if they so desire, and I'm sure they will do at some point very, very soon. With, well, we haven't got much of we haven't got much in the way of time left in this race, and McTeer, he needs a little bit. Well, he needs some of that time to go towards him, and he needs some of that time to build that gap between himself and Ironut. Although the Aston Martins, they could throw a spanner into the works. We've said that. I think that's the 4th time I've counted that now, because he was looking forward to Chevalier. But now with the DRS open, Chevalier looks so much more aggressive as Ironut moves into the lead of the race. The Aston Martin, he looks like he's going to try to feed his way through, but Chevalier in the Alpine, he is able to move to the inside line of McTeer. He's able to get ahead of McTeer, but the McLaren still trying to hold a tyre in there. He's unable to. P3 is where he's going to sit for now. And he won't be happy with that. He'll be desperate to get back ahead of the Alpine at some point soon. He'll be conserving. You can see quite a decent ERS chunk for that McLaren as they head out of the final corner. Lap 26 of 28 now. Ironut does lead. But how much longer is that going to last? It's going to last the main straight as Chevalier doesn't have that straight line speed to keep up. But this race is poised on a knife edge.
It absolutely is then. All to play for in these final remaining laps of the first round here in Kota for Tier 5. But Ironut leads the way, Chevalier in P2, McTeer in P3. And is this all set to change? I think in the chat, Head was saying they can't get removed. There has been some interesting battling. Elbows have been definitely out from a lot of these drivers. But yeah, I think this might get decided in the steward's room. But like you said, we're here for the on-track action. We're going to commentate like whoever wins on track wins the Grand Prix. And that's just how it goes. 5/10 to Ironut in the lead then. Chevalier couldn't match that in Sector 1. Ironut getting a fantastic Sector 1 and McTeer being held up slightly. But yeah, having to lift off a bit on the straights. That's how slow Chevalier was, and that's how close they got. But Ironut leads the way. It's lap 26 out of 28. It's all set to change. At the minute, it's an Aston Martin 4-5, and looking pretty good. I think Daniel has got a 6-second penalty, but apart from Danko, I think it's Yanni Alexandrov, Dominic Nielsen, and James all have 6 seconds as well, with Barutza the only man apart from Ironut, Chevalier, and Poison Loon, who doesn't have a penalty in this race. It's impressive not to get a penalty around Cote. It's a tricky track to keep in the white lines if you're right on the limit. But like we see one more lap. Ironut leads the race. Chevalier in P2 and Darren McTeer in P3. It goes RB, Alpine, then McLaren, and we are now on the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and we've still got so much to decide as Poisson Loon moves past Christian Lubinov, who comes into the pits. I think he's in the pits, unless he's going very slowly on track. Yeah, he is indeed in the pits, but there's so much to decide. On track, off track, all of it. And Daniel picking up another 3 seconds worth. That could be costly in terms of his fight for points, because that Giovanni Barutza, he is sitting there without a penalty. Christian Lubinov picks up another 3 seconds, but he's in P13, so... well, if he's overtaken by somebody, that would be quite an impressive feat. But Dallin McTeer looking maybe to the inside of Chevalier into the big straight. Not able to make that move. This is the penultimate time that we're going to come down the back straight. This is the third to last time that we're going to have a full DRS zone. So they're surely preparing for the final run down the back straight. That is where I'm sure all the overtakes are going to be made. Unless... you're Danko, then you're trying to fight forward. You're trying to get past Daniel. You're trying to climb up to maybe fight with those who are on 3 seconds rather than on 9 seconds, like the Aston Martin and the Haas will be looking. He'll be looking to get past. He'll be looking to try and challenge maybe for that podium coming from nowhere, really, on the last couple of laps. He could be looking ahead of Daniel. He'll be hopefully looking up towards NSR, maybe those drivers. Well, that's what the Haas driver will be aiming for anyway, as we head round the corner for the final time, or the final corner. No, for the final lap of this Grand Prix is what I meant to say. It was third time lucky, we got there. But for the final lap of the Grand Prix is underway. Danko loses the position to Yanni Alexandrov. This is the battle for 6th place. Danko will not like this. He was thinking about Daniel's penalties. Yanni Alexandrov, he has 6 seconds worth, so it's going to cost him even more because there's another driver with more penalties than him ahead of him, and that track position could be crucial in gaining those extra tenths ahead. But we've got one more DRS straight to go. Ironut will lead it. Justin Chevalier, he's only 3 tenths behind.
He absolutely is. One man to watch at the end when we all cross the line is Barutza with no penalties. There's loads of penalties right ahead of him. It could be a possible, maybe even P5 on the cards, maybe P4. But here we go. One last time. Ironut, Chevalier, McTeer. There goes Chevalier into the lead this race. Not many times he's been in the lead of this race, but he is into turn 12. It's beautifully executed as Ironut makes a big error on the exit, hits the back of Chevalier, and down the inside goes NSR on Dallin McTeer. But Dallin McTeer keeps this one as in the lead this race. We've got Justin Chevalier and Ironut defending from Dallin McTeer behind, but Justin Chevalier has executed this absolutely masterfully on this final lap, kept right behind Ironut on the back straight, got right ahead of him just before turn 12, and is coming out now for the final corner here in Tier 5, round 1 of WOR, and he's going to come across line to win the United States Grand Prix. It's Justin Chevalier in the Alpine who's going to take that win. It's beautifully executed to the line, as there we go then. Ironut takes P2, Dallin McTeer takes P3, NSR takes P4, Danko P5, and Barutza with no penalties then takes P6. It's beautifully executed and it's definitely well deserved. Probably deserved more if it wasn't for that little error in the second stint. Might have had to replace his wing in the pit stop, but there we have it. Justin Chevalier wins in round 1.
Yeah, that was a fully deserved win. 7th place on the grid, I will remind you. He moved up, all those places. That victory was very, very well deserved. And, Ironut They had their scraps on track, but those two were, well, almost definitely the quickest drivers, especially in that final stint where they were just able to take that psychological advantage of not having a penalty and just throwing it towards the front and throwing it towards the victory. Props go out as well to Dalamuktir, to Giovanni Bruzza for working together so well. And I know it didn't pay off in the end, but they really, I reckon if they didn't have the safety car, they really looked like they may have even come home, maybe in a 1-4, something like that. In the end, it was a 3-6, which isn't too terrible. I think they were the best of the constructors because of Tim Bayer's retirement that saw the Alpine drop down and, well, pick up no points, as opposed to the full 25 being handed to his teammate. Not full, because Mouchoir was the one with the fastest lap in P14. But yeah, Tim Bayer retiring did not help the Alpine's case, but Chevalier won't care because he's picked up 25. He will be taking them home. And just a reminder then, for the standings, for the final race results, Justin Chevalier wins with Ironut in second. Then it's Dalamuktir in third. NSR taking a very, very, well, a lucky fourth, but he had to play the strategy right, so fair play to him. Danko in fifth. Giovanni Bruzza ending up penalty-free in sixth, and Yanni Alexandrov. Dominic Nielsen, Daniel, and James rounding out the points. Then it's Poisson Lun and Redmer. And I think Christian Lubinov actually did come across the line in the end to take a finish in this race. Then it's Mouchoir, Alfie, Tim Bayer, Mikolas, Robert Dinilescu, Krisu, and Joris. They are your retirements. And that was your PC Tier 5 race.
I mean, a lot of action there, a lot of spanners in the works, as we like to say. But, I mean, it was beautifully executed from Chevalier, and it's exactly what you want heading into round one. But we've got a long season ahead, and it's all to play for. What's next week? I'm pretty sure it's Singapore, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It is Singapore, yeah, so that's going to be even more interesting. Tight barriers and even more competitive racing. But yeah, big win for the Alpine.
Yeah, and that will the maximum amount of confidence is what you'll be taking out of that race, and that's exactly what he would have wanted. That is the perfect way to have started his season. Just it wasn't a lucky win. Sometimes you get a lucky win and you feel a little bit demotivated. It was a well-deserved victory. It was a very, very well-driven drive. A very well-driven drive from a lot of the drivers, and well, that sounds like a tongue twister. I'm just saying the word drivers again and again, but yeah, it was very well earned from him. Ironut as well. He had a pretty decent race in second. Again, a little bit of scrapping with himself and Chevalier, which I'm sure we'll be seeing a repeat of in the stewards' reports later on. But then the two McLarens, that was certainly a storyline to keep up with.
It absolutely was, because in that first stint, there wasn't really anywhere. There was fighting to get in the points for quite a while. I think they were sat in P10 and P11. Then we all just started to realise they started coming through together. I think it was the Hasses first. Then you slowly see them progress ahead of the Aston Martins. And that just allowed Dalamuktir to fight for the win. It was unlucky when he got the penalty, which I think he could have got removed, to be honest. I think he went a bit more defensive for his P3 position in that final few laps there. But he definitely had the pace. The safety car did kind of ruin it for him. But the McLarens worked very well. They got a P2 in the constructors, as I think Chevrolet, with that 25 points, I think it's 23 from McLaren. It was a beautiful race from the pair. The other McLaren as well, with no penalties. It was nice to align for him to get P6. It was well earned, but yeah, both of the McLarens worked very well together, and hopefully we'll see it next week as well, because it was great to watch.
It was very good to watch. Just the teamwork, we don't get much of it. We don't get much of it in league racing, so it's very good for us to see. We have got a couple of interviews, excitingly. For us to do. I will bring up. I won't bring up apparently the interview screen. I'll bring up my webcam. You can have a look at me as we go through the interviews. We haven't got Alex's webcam yet. I'm sure that'll be coming in time, but we're going to start with today's race winner, Justin Chevalier. Hello, welcome, Justin, to the interviews. How did that race go for you?
Hello guys. To be honest, the race was not the question of race pace. It was the question of we're gonna be seconds on the last straight, on the last lap, and I just managed to get P2 on the last lap and overtake the first guy with the GRS and just finish first. Exactly like this.
Yeah, and Justin, from me as well. I mean, it was a bit carnage at stages. Definitely got their elbows out. A lot of drivers there. I mean, was there any instance particularly with you that happened? I mean, there was definitely a few round turn 6 and turn 7 and looping left-hander, but is there any that stick out for you, and is there anything you'll take to the stewards' room at the end of the day?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the race was quite okay, I should say, because we are everyone is close. There is some wheel-to-wheel battles, and the contact model of the game is not optimal. Like if you touch a wheel, you cannot turn. So sometimes you don't even want to touch someone, and you cannot turn. So it's quite difficult, even for the guy who is attacking. Sorry, but at the end of the day, I think that a lot of drivers were like respectful on the track, so it was quite a nice race from my side.
And
Yeah.
well, I mean, how will that race, how will the taking the victory help your confidence? Because I know that a victory is always great, but the fact that you've been able to do it, well, minute 1, race 1, how does that help your confidence going forward into the rest of the season?
To be honest, I'm quite happy because Kota is one of my weakest track. I'm struggling a lot on this track, but during the first race laps, I was my feeling was okay. Like the setup was really nice, and I felt like my pace was not too bad, to be fair. So my confidence just grew up lap by laps, and yeah, it was a great race. And yeah, for my confidence for the following race, it will be helpful for sure. So yeah, it's a great beginning of the season.
Yeah, I also have a quick final one. But we saw a lot of drivers struggling with track limits there. Was it hard to keep it on the track, especially going side by side with a lot of drivers there? But yeah, how tricky was it to not get that track limits in the end and get the race win on track and including penalties as well from the rest of the drivers?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I prefer like losing maybe 1, 2, 3 tenths and doesn't have corner cutting penalty. So I take care a lot on especially blind corner, like the penultimate one, to try to keep the car on the tracks. And sometimes, yeah, you can have like warning because yeah, you are battling, and sometimes you are pushed out a little bit. But to be fair, I prefer to losing time a little bit and don't have track limits.
Yeah, so well, very well done for you, Justin. We'll let you go now. We'll let you go,
Thank you very
but yeah, well done today, mate. And well, it was very good to hear from him because that was very much his race. We'll have a look at somebody else who I think performed well, incredibly well. Really, is a way to describe it. In this race, we have Dallin McTeer in the man that sat third on the podium. We're going to go for him now because he was the second one in the waiting for interview. But hello, Dallin. How did you feel that race went for yourself?
It was awful. I had no front end throughout the first 2 stints. I added a click of front wing for my final stint, which helped a lot. But at the end, I didn't want to take too many risks. I didn't want to take out Justin or Solas. And in the end, I had to sort of settle for P3 really, which I'm not happy about, but it's a podium, so I'll take it.
Yeah, we saw you working very well with your teammates to get past the likes of the Haas cars. It was beautiful to see, to be honest, because I think you were both sat in P10 and P11. Then we just randomly saw you climbing slowly through the field. You managed to get back into the fight for the win. But just explain that and explain your team and your teammates. Good work to get through as well with you.
Yeah, so first safety car came out. We both went off the hards. I hated the hard tire. So we both went medium from that first safety car. And then the tire advantage worked well. Whenever Giovanni in front of me, whenever he made a move, I sort of just set up the exit to get by him as well. So worked well. We made a few positions. And then in the end, I think he ended up making contact with someone, which put me ahead of him. So then from that point on, it was me doing the work to get through the field.
Yeah, and it was. At what point did you decide that it was the point to switch off from your teammate, to push forward? Because it felt like you'd both put in all that work to get forward, and then you just shot off into the distance while Giovanni struggled a little bit more. Was there a turning point? Did you feel as though he just wasn't going to be quick enough, or was it just more of a I've got the pace, let's go?
It was more of just an I've got the pace thing. He made contact with someone at the weird double left-hander, which put me ahead of him. And from that point, I wanted to push to stay in the DRS of the drivers in front. So, and that sort of just separated myself from him in the end.
Yeah, good stuff. And it's Singapore next week. What's your expectations? Are you confident going into it? And yeah, just give your thoughts on Singapore.
I haven't touched Singapore in this game, so I have no clue. But considering I got a podium and I decided I was going to drive about an hour and a half ago.
Not bad, not bad.
Whilst being quite sore throughout the whole thing, a podium here with 0 practice is pretty good. So Singapore should be similar. I will have time to practice for that, so I'm hoping for a better result there.
Good stuff.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dallin. Congratulations on that race, and we look forward to seeing how you do for the remainder of the season.
Thank you.
Well done.
One more interview then. The second place man. I've gone in a weird order. I probably should have done it first, second, third, but we have Ionut. Well, firstly, congratulations on that second place. Are we pronouncing your name right when we say Ionut?
Yeah, it was okay. You can't really pronounce it. I'd say it's Ionuts. But yeah.
Okay, we'll aim to go for that going forward. But yeah, second place in that race. How do you feel it went from your perspective?
I don't know, the quali went quite shit because I couldn't put a lap together, but the race was actually decent. As you saw, I was leading the pack. And I was trying to switch positions with my teammate from 88, but that didn't go too well because some other driver overtook me as well. And yeah, I kept those positions from there. I went for the undercut, then I went P2, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and obviously it's a bit tricky leading on the last lap. I mean, did you know going on to the back straight that you did the best you could do in sector 1? You're probably going to have to yield heading into sector 2.
Yeah, I was trying to recover as much battery as possible in sector 1 for the back straight, but it's almost impossible to defend without DRS.
Yeah, and then, well, it was a very interesting battle that we saw between you and I believe it was Justin just before the safety car. What was your perspective on that? Was it just good hard racing, or was it a little bit over the top? Do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like it was just a little bit over the limit because I broke too late. I mean, he went deep but then he just dived me. So that's I'd say that's high, you know. And then from their honors, there was hard racing, I'd say.
Yeah, and finally for me, I said it in my last interview, but yeah, we've got Singapore next week. Are you confident heading into it? P2 this week. What's your expectations for next week?
Honestly, I'm really confident on Singapore. I really enjoyed the track, but I don't want to talk before the results came, so I just hope for a good result again.
Good to hear. Good confidence, and I'm pretty sure that's everything from us.
Yes, I think it is. Thank you very much. What was it again? I've forgotten how to
Ionut.
pronounce it already. Ionut.
Ionut.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much,
Got it.
Ionut, for joining us this evening, and congratulations on your P2.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, and I believe that's going to be us done for this evening. A scintillating evening of racing action, where we saw two of the drivers competing for the lead retire just like that. We saw completely new competitors come to the fore. Oh, pretty average WOR race actually for a round one. I say that. Alex doesn't know that I'm lying, but any final thoughts?
I mean, it was a great watch, to be honest. There was a lot of drama, and I think the quotes to take from today is the spanners were definitely thrown in the works. But yeah, next week, I'm sure it's going to get even more interesting in the tight streets of Singapore. But yeah, I mean, carnage in stages, but overall, a well-deserved winner in the Alpine. But yeah, great race to watch.
Absolutely, it was. And where can we find you on social media? We'll do a little bit of self promo.
Well, that's sweet. On my Instagram, on my X, it should be just AB commentary. And I've got a little TikTok going as well. So you do you if you fancy it. But make sure to tune in here next week as well. Same time, same place. You know the drill.
Well, it's not only next week. We've got a few races across the week. We've got obviously all the PC tiers on Monday. This was PC tier 5. Then on Tuesday, well, not all the PC tiers because it's PC tier 2 to maybe 6 if somebody isn't available. Obviously, if everybody is available next week, then Alex can go back to where he belongs. And then we have Legacy Division tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for that. Thursday, we've got Console. Friday is the peak of the Console tiers 1 and 2. And then Sunday is PC tier 1, the main event. But we will see you next week. Make sure to follow. Make sure to subscribe to us. We got Twitters. We've got all the socials, I believe. Not sure if they're all active, but I know that we've certainly got an active Twitter and we've certainly got an active YouTube. You can see up the top of your screens the TikTok tag as well as the Twitter, X and YouTube now. But from us for now, it is goodbye.